the 15th of October 2025. Cash to leave, letter sent to 33,000 migrants. Families who take up the offer will be given prepaid credit card. That's nice. You get a credit card. Any Mac. Off you go. Here we are. A couple of these. Top them up there. A letter offering 10,000 per family to asylum seekers to return home has been sent to all 33,000 people seeking international protection here, the Justice Minister confirmed. So, if they can be sent home, why are they looking for international protection? Because the Minister is lying. They're here for the chance of a house, the good dole, allowance for your dog, best of health, everything. Full-scale health, and they're coming from hellholes that they themselves created. And when they come from Somalia and places like that into America, they immediately try to tear America down to their standard. The figure is 5 times the previous offer. It's up 5 times. And is part of the government's Get Tough policy with asylum seekers. I wonder why. I wonder will there be owl farmers complaining on YouTube, who cost the taxpayer $1 billion a year in a situation that has added to the accommodation crisis. That's the Irish Daily Mail yesterday. Exactly. They must be a bit afraid some of them will stop voting. Would there be an odd Fianna Fáil and Fine Gael? I mightn't vote for that. I don't think so. I think they'll vote till the day. Go to funerals all the time, and I just say to myself and say to others, there's a Fine Gael vote gone, there's a Fianna Fáil vote gone. Will the youngsters coming up vote the same? That's their problem. It's the dying off that's the problem for the vote for the main parties. Those who take up the offer will get part of their money in a prepaid debit card as they're leaving. The rest of the funds will be transferred to them when they return home to their families. All printed money. When they return home, when they return home to their home countries. So just hop over to Ireland, get on the thing, you get 10 grand, and away back over. And then I suppose it'll come in Britain as well. What's to stop them coming back? The minute they get the money, come back again. Different name. Justice Minister Jim O'Callaghan stressed that the offer would only be made for a limited time and that the top rate is only available to those who do not enter the lengthy asylum-seeking process. Why is there a lengthy asylum-seeking process? Why doesn't somebody check them out coming in and say, get the hell out of here? We signed up with the EU to allow citizens in certain circumstances from EU countries, not from other countries. A sum of 2,500 is being offered. To individual people to go home. 2,500 to individual people. Just see if that on it there. 2 individual people to go home. It's estimated to cost 122,000 per year to process the average international protection application. Why don't they put me in charge of it? I'll tell you, I'd process them for about €60. Out. This includes the cost of accommodation and food. All go to a few chancellors here that got on the gravy train, getting millions of our money. I think some of what I say is having an effect. I think it is. They're getting afraid of us. So, accommodation and food and social protection payments and healthcare and education. The full whack. You can't get your own little kids into school. I know one family and they had to send their child to a Gael school. No place. Earlier this month, the government confirmed that it was making a new and improved offer to those in the international protection process to entice them to return to their home countries. How many are going into Russia? How many are going into China, into Saudi Arabia? the Saudis fired on them and shot them. Previously, an individual was entitled to 1,200. However, that sum is now got up to 2,500. While and our electricity bills went up the same. What about our Irish people that could do with a rise? Some woman says she was living on €6 a week. While the family was previously offered 2,000, they can now avail of 10,000 for a family to help them resettle in their home country. So 10,000 is going to leave them all right. Huh? If they were being put out due to persecution, why? How is 10,000 going to mean they won't be persecuted when they go home? The answer is there's no persecution at all. The persecution they experience is the same as I experience. Here I am discriminated against by woke politicians and government and rules and windmills and other junk. Out in some places, the Christians are being persecuted by the Muslims. And the answer of the government is take the Muslims in here so they can persecute us. Responding to a parliamentary question from presidential candidate and independent TD Catherine Connolly, Mr O'Callaghan, that's the minister, confirmed that everyone currently in the process of applying for international protection had received an offer. So where does Catherine Connolly stand? She's a candidate for the presidency. He said last week, I announced that for a limited time, if we got rid of the whole bloody lot of them over 2 years, wouldn't it be great? Why is it limited? Why is it limited? He said, that's because our government is so screwed up with targets. Oh, we have to set a target. Oh, we have to set climate targets. Targets. They can't do anything unless there's a target. He said last week, I announced that for a limited time, people who are in the international protection process before September 28, 2025 will be offered an increased allowance if they leave at an earlier stage of the process. They won't be microchipped or anything. They can go back in straight away under another name. This aims to reduce pressure on the system from the high number of applicants received in recent years, because that villain Roderick O'Gorman, Eamon Cabbagehead Ryan, demanded and went over to Africa and put notices on the telegraph poles that there was all goodies in Ireland. And the people got rid of 11 of them and put back in that Roderick O'Gorman. But why is Fianna Fáil and Fine Gael not tackle it the minute they got them to hell out? Probably because the independent TDs who are propping up the government, they're more woke than the rest. I accuse them. Lowry, Carol Nolan, Verona Murphy, that's the ones I can think of. Why are you propping them up? Is there no price? Is there no annual update from the independents as to what they're doing to remedy the situation? There's nothing. This means that if a person decides to opt for voluntary return, either before a first instance decision is made or without without submitting an appeal. So if they don't put in their application for asylum, they're all right. Why is there asylum? When are we going to get rid of that? When are we going to get rid of the International Court of Human Rights? And lawyers making Klondikes, taking African pirates, Somali pirates, who were shot up by the Russians, and only 2 or 3 of them were left, and they come to Ireland. And here we're giving them asylum. They were attacking boats before they came. Now, their assistance will be increased to 2,500 per person to a maximum of 10,000. Okay. If a person in the appeals process, it is 1,500 per person and 6,000 per family if they're already in it. So if they've lodged their appeal, the amount per family goes from 6,000 per family unit if they're already in the appeals system. There are 33,900 applications pending at different stages. Isn't that a disgrace? You villains that voted for Fianna Fáil and Fine Gael in the last election. To do that. You dirty crowd of villains. That's all you are. You expect nothing from Sinn Féin, only a pig, a grunt from a pig. Where is Ireland first with Sinn Féin? Where are you? Aye, Chucky your law. They brought these in here, but so did Fianna Fáil and Fine Gael. And now the independents, all traitors. There are 33,000 applicants pending at different stages of the international process. This means that if everyone took up the offer, the state could conservatively pay upwards of 100 million euros. That's what your government is paying because they haven't the guts to deal with this problem, to repatriate people in the international protection process. I'd definitely give them a few hundred, their aircraft fee and something to feed them for a few days in their own country. At this stage, even if you put them back from Dublin, and when they come in, you might have to give them something, but you'd horse them out to hell. However, it is understood that around 7 million has been allocated in the Department of Justice budget for deportations and removal orders, which would include those who agree to take the money in exchange for going home. So it's good. It's good. So maybe getting rid of the Greens has had that wee bit of benefit. Maybe we got something out of it. But look at the mess that has been allowed to build up. And you see President Trump, that's why they hate him. He is horsing them out. He's told the Chicagoans there'll be no World Cup in Chicago unless you can get the crime under control. We'll move it elsewhere. Simple. Simple. No messing. So, in 2024, 934 people left Ireland by way of voluntary return. This year, 1,222 people have left up to October the 3rd, which is an increase of 106% compared to the same period in 2024. So at least we're not putting notices on the African Poles telling them to come over here and get all the goodies. The minister said the voluntary return service comprises of pre-departure counselling. Pre-departure counselling. Pre-departure counselling. The minister said the voluntary return service comprises of. I don't think you can use of with comprises. Comprises contains the word of. That should read service comprises pre-departure counselling. Anyway, pre-departure counselling. Go on over and stay for a while and you'll drop back in again. Nobody notices. How do we know? They'll come into Britain and in through the north anyway. Organising travel arrangements and the payment of a regeneration grant. A reintegration grant. How much is it? So when they go over to their own country, these are Africans and Pakistanis, they get a grant to reintegrate in Pakistan where they came from. Well, what the hell took them here? My department programme provides assistance to people who wish to leave and are deemed to be in a vulnerable situation. Well, are they? Who deems? Who does the deeming? You didn't consider Ashi Bibi in a vulnerable situation and her 6 years on death row in Pakistan. Oh no, she's a Catholic, sure, what the hell? Oh God, these are Muslims, oh you wouldn't know, and Muslims, you know, and Hindus and Jehovah's, and, well, not Jehovah's, I suppose. Anyway, Zulus and all this. In general terms, the IOM, International Organization for Migration, in UN Migratory Agency, consider more vulnerable cases. I don't know what that means. Mr. O'Callaghan added, and he'll be looking for the Prime Minister's job, added, the increased assistance level will be offered to everyone in the international protection process before September the 28th, 2025, and people are not being excluded on grounds of nationality. No, doesn't matter. You can be an ISIS terrorist. You can be after decapitating Christians in Syria. Come on ahead. No interview or anything else. Nothing to see if they're radical Islamists. Nothing. The email to asylum seekers, which has been seen by the Irish Daily Mail, stresses that this is the time-limited offer Why is it time limited? Sure, if you get rid of them to hell out, why do you limit it in time? It's stated, for a limited time only, the Department of Justice, Home Affairs and Migration is increasing the reintegration grant you could receive through our voluntary return program. It added, when you are leaving, you will receive some of your grant on the prepaid debit card, which you can use immediately when you arrive home. When you return home, the rest of the grant will be in kind. The rest of the grant will be in kind and may help you set up a small business to attend to education course. So now we're subsidising education and businesses all over the bloody world. All over the world. A senior source said voluntary returns are used widely across Europe and globally by governments and are a standard part of the immigration system worldwide. First I heard of that now, but it may be. The only new part of this is the increased allowance. For a limited time, nobody is forced to take VRs, voluntary returns. And why aren't they forced? Trump wouldn't have it, I'll tell you. And if people are genuinely in need of international protection, they're not in need of international protection. That's a dirty lie. Then, of course, they will be allowed to stay and receive asylum. Give them everything. And no check out to see if they're terrorists or anything else. The refugee budget is set to top $2 billion. That's good enough for Paddy. And I'm freezing in his house. Can't buy the basics. That'll settle us. And the ones now who are in their 50s are, I'll vote Fianna Fáil. I'll vote Fine Gael. Oh, they Sinn Féin. That's the only job there now. They'll get their Brits out. They'll still vote for them. They know it. And a lot of these migrants, the whole idea is they think they'll vote for the parties here. But I would say an awful lot of them, particularly the Muslims, will have their own vote. They'll decide who's the most suitable for getting Sharia law. And they'll eventually creep in to make us do what they want. That's what the real objective is next year. Last week's budget shows that the figures include both asylum seekers and Ukrainian refugees. It marks a major increase in spending, with some $6 billion in total spent on refugees since that. Imagine electing our government to throw it all away. Imagine that. Budget documents show that asylum and Ukrainian accommodation will cost $1.6 billion next year, with around $438 million extra put aside by the Department of Protection and Social Welfare. So that's the story. More and more and more. Give it all away. This is ripping the world apart. Ripping America apart. Do you give everything away, or do you give it to your own people? Canada believes you give everything away. Britain believes you give everything away. Ireland believes you give everything away. And the European Union believes the same. But when the Russians come into Ukraine, they don't believe in giving them anything. They give $5 billion to South Africa for windmills last week. Now, I read there that Ireland has the largest class sizes in the European Union, the largest. There's no point in pointing out what's wrong or what's happening. It was on the radio this morning that the teachers are burnt out. Teachers are not able to cope. Young Irish people will not do teaching. They won't want to be any of the services, guards or anything else, because you can't work with the woke, cultural Marxist government that has jailed Enoch Burke as one example, and how many teachers are cowering and afraid to do what the conscience says because they know they'll end up destroyed like Enoch Burke. Okay, folks, isn't that enough? This is the reality. The question is, what can we do? There's no point crying about it. The best thing is when you're down in the hairdressers, when you're in the pub, highlight this big time, but also add to it. Don't be afraid to tell lies, because the other side is telling lies. So if you say they're giving them 10,000 to go home, excuse me, say they're getting 30,000 plus a car. Tell lies any way you like. All is fair in love and war, and this is war. In Cavan, Councillor John Paul Feely, he's the head of Cavan County Council at the moment. It's a kind of a rotating chair. He's Fianna Fáil. And he has come out and said, oh, Cavan Town is as safe as anywhere. Ireland is safe. Crime is on the way down. Crime is on the way down. I've checked the statistics. What crime? Can we compare, for example, 2010 crime, when households experiencing trouble with crime was up 9% in 2010. What is it now? What I see here is attempted murder and assaults and harassment, etc. In 2022 was 22,106, and in this it was up 12% on 2025. 24, I think it is now. I just may not have it right here. It's up from 22,106 to 24,690 last year. So that's an increase of 12%. So anyway, we could go about these statistics all the time. No paper will give a proper analysis of them. There is crime, murders and attacks in Ireland regularly. And in just as an example, in Britain last week, a Somalian lad saw a woman going into a tube station, and he stabbed her, I think it's 18 times, and killed her dead. Sorry, he's a Sudanese. I made a mistake. He's not a Somalian. He's a Sudanese. It's all the same sows pigs. But this is what's happening all over the place. Nobody's safe, and there'll be more stabbings here. Our sons and daughters will be stabbed by these mad lunatics that they allow in here. I was once a detective sergeant, and we controlled who came in our county, and there was no messing. We were good, sensible and wise, and people were treated right. And when we had to send them out and block them coming in, we did. There was guards up at Dublin Airport stopping them coming in. Now it's come on, as many as you can come running in. This is the disgusting Fianna Fáil and Feely talking nonsense and telling downright misinformation. Oh, the crime's down, because there's an election coming up for the president. I'd like to talk to Mr. Feely, and we'll get the statistics out and have a look. And don't forget, in Ireland, there's very little statistics anyway. In London, the Lord Mayor will not investigate bikes that are stolen, and you never get them back. So if your bike is stolen, they won't investigate it. They're not investigating crime in Ireland either, and a lot of people never report it because they will deal with serious crime. So that's the story, folks, about the refugee system in Ireland and the mess they've made of it, and how we have been so unfairly treated by our neighbours for voting for this idiot, Jim O'Callaghan, next Prime Minister, Micheál Martin. What a crowd of dirty idiots. That's all they are. And the people who support them at the ballot box, we need to isolate them. And I'd love to have a register of who votes for who. I believe it's still on. Unfortunately, I'm very, very busy. Now, if we leave it at that, folks, there's a school of thought that if we go to horse these villains out, they'll burn everywhere down. Well, that's what guards are for. In other words, we're being held hostage, and that the government is afraid of them. If they upset them in any way, they'll do damage. It's not a poor way to be in the Irish Republic, but that's the way. But over in America, they're trying the same. Trump is giving it to them. He's taken none of their messing. And he proved it could be done because he had the courage to do it. And we don't, nor neither does the British or the EU. But when they went to talk to him about trade, they cowed down to everything he said, proven that an ounce of courage is worth a ton of manure. We'll see you back, folks, soon. It's a sad story, but at least it's some effort, maybe, we have to give that, to get them out of here. But whether it'll work or not, I don't know. And how do you stop them coming in? How do you stop them coming back to London and then coming across the border in the north? Is there fingerprints? Is there photographs? Is there anything? All a huge expensive business loaded on our countries as Europe is in terminal decline, and it looks that way. Comment underneath. Give your opinion any way you wish. We'll see you back soon. Bye.